All right, everybody. Hopefully the nerves are calm for at least one game. But wow, was that an impressive performance by the Colorado Avalanche over the Nashville Predators in game one of their first round series, a 7-2 thrashing of the Panthers at the hands of the Avalanche. And it was pretty much over after the first period. But Kyle and I will get into that and what to expect from game two. Lots to talk about there as well, because Kyle and I were kind of having a nice discussion before we hit record. And I was like, dude, I have to hit record because we have to record this stuff. So we'll see where that goes. But first things first, follow the show on social media outlets. And thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow the show over on our YouTube channel. There we go. Now we're on the right side. Hit subscribe and get notified when a new show goes live. All right, man. Game one, we talked about so much heading into game one. And you talk about what Avalanche team are you going to get? They ended the season not playing as well, but they also had the injuries. How much does that play a part? They are going up against a backup goalie for at least the first two games. They have to take advantage of that. Will they? All of those questions are put to bed for now. After one game, all of those questions are put to bed. The guys that were out on the ice, and you had surprisingly the two guys that we were talking about that were going to be the scratches in yesterday's episode. One, we were kind of right on Logan O'Connor. We thought there's a very good possibility he could be one of the scratches. The other, I think, blindsided everybody, and that was Alex Newhook. Complete shock to, I think, a lot of people why he was not in there. But when you looked at the lines, it seemed like Bednar was going for experience, and that was one of the another thing we were talking about. But we didn't think it was going to be at the sacrifice of Alex Newhook. But it just seems like Jared Bednar knew what he was doing clearly.
Yeah. It was one of those when the lines were posted, like you're scratching your head, and it was like Newhook being scratched and Cogliano being in there. At first, when you see that, you're like, what is going on? That just doesn't make sense. But when you see what Pittsburgh did in their game, it looks like playoff experience matters.
It means something. Sure.
It matters. So, yeah, Bednar knows what he's doing. We don't get to fire him today. Sorry, Avs fans.
Yeah.
We get to keep him around a little bit longer.
No, that's not to say that this is going to be the lineup game in and game out. I think he wanted to, for game one, have the experience out there, and how we were talking about what would the lines look like. We were focused on those top lines. Where would Landeskog go? And then when we heard he went down to the second line, like, okay, I get that. And that was through all four lines was stability. And the one with the least amount of playoff experience was on the defensive end in Bo Byram. But you're not going to remove him. You have a lot of options available at the forward spot. And he went, and that's what he did. And it worked. And now you do. I'm just reading right now. Bednar said that Andrew Cogliano is day-to-day with an upper body injury. He got hurt twice in this game.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, okay, this is the benefit that you have if you're the Colorado Avalanche. If Cogliano is day-to-day in 2 days' time for game two, if he's not 100%, you have two guys, and I think we would all assume Alex Newhook is the number one person on that list to replace him, to come right in and take the spot, and you don't miss a beat. You probably gain a beat from going from Newhook from Cogliano.
And see, that's the wonderful thing about the Avalanche team this year. We lose Cogliano day to day. We just talked the majority of the episode yesterday about who's scratched, who's not. And we had a case for every one of them. Like, it's plug and play. And you get to see what you saw last night against Nashville, what this team looks like 100%. And
right.
And we put this team up against, like, statistically with the 0-1 team, Like if you played fantasy hockey, put the 0-1 team on the ice against this team at 100%, that would be interesting because
a great game.
It would be incredible when you see this. Like it erases how we ended the season. It erases not getting the President's Trophy. It erases I haven't seen Gabe Landeskog in 31 games, and the man hasn't missed a beat.
No, absolutely not. I mean,
and
they proved me wrong, and I'm totally fine with that, because when we did the crossover with Locked On Preds, I was like, these are going to be close games. Game one, Avs threw out the window, and it's like shame on me for, not forgetting, but you haven't had that Avalanche style of play the last handful of games, and it's simply because they've been resting guys. They've had important pieces not playing. You have Mikko Rantanen, who had some flu or something, so when he came back towards the end of the season, it wasn't 100%. Now they are, and it's like, remember what this team did in January? What were they, 15-0-1 or something like that in January? Like, when this team is healthy, you saw what they are capable of. And again, not that we've forgotten it, we just haven't had it for the past few weeks. And now that we do, 7 spot. You don't do that a lot in the playoffs and hang a 7 spot on any playoff team.
If you want to get technical about it, I think the Avalanche scored 9 goals, because I think Dutchy was the only one that scored for Nashville. Both of their goals. So
hey now. Yeah. And I think they kind of had an own goal with it was a skate that kind of kicked the goal, and
that they whatever attributed to Landy.
But you clearly, game one, you're on home, you want to get off to a hot start, and boy did the Avalanche. I mean, and how poetic is it that you anybody on these lines can score, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But usually you're going to rely on your top 6 or whatever, and Nathan MacKinnon gets the scoring goal going.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was not only that this game was a tone setter for probably this series, but for him to get that number 1 goal, if you're the Preds, it's got to be demoralizing, because you want to shut him down, and 2 minutes into the game and he's already potting one on you.
And that's the thing when you're playing the Predators. Like, you want to shut down Yossi. You might want to shut down Forsberg. Where do you focus if you're the Predators for shutting down this Avalanche team? Everyone's scoring. Cogliano got a shorthanded goal. Mm-hmm. You did not hear that wrong. That's Cogliano, shorthanded goal. 3 words that you'll never put together. But that it happened. And I think, to make matters worse, Cale Makar made a carbon copy of the Chicago goal in the game, and the one that went viral and trendy and everybody talked about, he did it again, exactly the same way. And Nashville played on their heels the entire game. Nothing they did. They couldn't even get physical and take the Avalanche out of the game, because they'd score another goal. They couldn't fight because Landy's going to clean it up. It's Nashville sees what they are playing against, and they are taken out of it. Like, they can't do enough to stop the Avalanche. And when they're going, it's hard to stop.
Yeah, the Makar goal, the way that it happened was very similar to the Chicago goal. That the Chicago goal was in overtime. So that was 3-on-3. This was 5-on-5. And he made a beautiful move at the blue line. I want to give a ton of credit to Gabe Landeskog for keeping that puck in the zone. We can't forget about that.
Yes.
And Makar did get some help from, I don't know who the Pred defender was, who was fumbling with his stick, and it was on the ground. But hey, you screw that up, he's going to go right around you. And he made that move again. I think this one went off of the goalie's head a little bit, but so what? I mean, it was just another highlight reel goal by the best defenseman in the league.
And something we mentioned in the Twitter spaces that really stood out to me, and I don't know if it hit you, I haven't asked you. In that interview that Cale had at the end of the first period, something about Cale's face, he looked like a man. We always talk about him being like a boy. Like, he looked like he evolved, and he's like a man. Like, his face was, that was right after he kissed the boards.
Yeah. Oh,
And like,
right after, because that was right at the end of the period.
And he went in there and had that interview, and you could see in his face, this wasn't boyish Cale. This was man Cale Makar. 100%. And he was on a mission. And I was like, I said out loud, I feel sorry for the league because Cale has evolved. And you could feel it.
He's got some like maybe reverse Benjamin Button thing going. Like he's.
It's like from Charmander to Charmeleon.
No, you're right. Like he has that, like he has the look, just that boyish look. I don't feel like that's ever gonna go away. The dude is probably the only one on the team that's not gonna be able to grow a playoff beard, but
he's gonna get carded for his entire life.
Pretty much. But he has that just like deep baritone voice, and he did, like, he even in those in-game interviews, he's still smiling, he's still having a good time, but it's weird. It's like he's smiling, but he's obviously very serious.
Yeah, there
was no like, it was all business for him, and this was in the middle of the game, obviously, and he was not gonna say like anything to tip off the Preds that we're done here. And you're right, man. Yeah, that I absolutely did pick up on that. You're right. Much more to get to, obviously, but first let's hear from Rock Auto, and then we'll kind of continue this discussion. So with the ever increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain and auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer when they choose the brands that are only in their warehouse? When you have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket, you can save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family-run business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low for every customer, so go explore their easy-to-use website today and find the solution to your auto parts needs. When you go to rockauto.com right now, you'll see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write "Locked On" in the "How did you hear about us" section so they know that we sent you to them. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Nazem Kadri obviously did play, and he was getting if you watched on ESPN, he was getting a lot of credit for keeping his head. And there were many times where, and you could see it at the end. The Predators, we talked about this many times, like they play an aggressive game, and would that be to their detriment? They didn't play that. Like they played a physical game, but early on, let's see, 59 hits from Nashville, 47 for the Avalanche. Obviously, it's going to be a physical game, but I thought the way that the Preds were playing early on was not as aggressive in terms of getting those like silly penalties. And then they went down 5-0 right away, maybe because of that. And when the game got out of control, you knew it was going to start happening in the third period, where they were going to start gooning it up and, face washing guys and ripping helmets off. That's exactly what happened. And if you were watching on ESPN, they went to commercial when they came back. Who was it that was just skating back and just went after Kadri just to go?
Olivier.
Was that who it was? Just to stir things up, to try to get Kadri in trouble. They know the league is just waiting for Nazem Kadri to do something boneheaded, and he's gone for the rest of the series. So why not try? I can't fault the Predators for doing that, but you do have to give Kadri a ton of credit for saying, like, I am not taking part in that. We are, I'm too valuable to this team. We're killing you guys right now. Why would I go do that?
And that point was also made during the Olivier. Like they had 59 hits, and that's tracked in between the whistles. Who knows what they had after the whistle?
Right.
Olivier like going after Kadri, and comment was mentioned, like they're trying to get him suspended for the first round. And I was like, look at the score sheet. Why does that matter? Like Kadri isn't the threat right now. Like if you're going after anybody, go after the captain. He's got a history too.
Sure, that's true.
And he's got like 3 points at that time Like, go after him. He's already been jumping in two of the already after the whistle scrums. All you got to do is just tick him off one more time, and then done.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That Landeskog, he has the history tag attached to him, not as much as Kadri does. If Kadri does it again, something in the playoffs, he's gone for even longer than what he was last year. You know what I mean? But I get your point. Like, Landeskog probably would get suspended too, because like I said, he's got that history tag attached to him.
The Chicago game is more recent than the Blues game. And like, if you watch the entire season, Gabe Landeskog's got a shorter fuse than Kadri. Like, it does not take much at all. If you want to go after an easy suspension, do it. It's easy. That's your target.
Yeah. No, you're right. But I just feel like because so much has been talked about with Nazem Kadri, that's going to be their target, is to go after him. And when they're down that much, they're going to do everything in their power. When I saw that, when they came back from commercial, and I'm like, come on, like, in a sense, I get it, but it's like, we're going to do that right now. How about just go win? How about not embarrass yourself? Yeah, I mean, you're embarrassing yourself more by doing this, but the score is going to be the thing that everybody looks at last, and that's where the embarrassment should come from. And I don't know, for the Preds, they might be.
That's what I said. Olivier wasn't trying to take out Kadri; he was trying to get a game misconduct, so he didn't have to finish the rest of that game.
And didn't he though?
That was like there was 4 minutes to go at that point.
No,
I was like,
he's done. He was done at that point.
Yeah. So like, he didn't want to have to deal with that anymore, because like, if you wanted to do smart scouting, you would go after somebody else. Like, Kadri wasn't hurting you. Yeah. He was probably one of the only Avs that weren't hurting you. So,
and then you had Tomasino actually had a misconduct as well.
I believe that was during what indicated the 4-on-4.
That was when he got that was at the end of the second. Yeah, when he mixed it up with Lehkonen, who got a misconduct as well. So lots of penalty minutes going around in this game. The one on MacKinnon, or not MacKinnon, on Makar at the end, when it was him and Ryan Johnson, and it was just, I mean, they gave him a roughing penalty for literally standing there trying to get away from Ryan Johnson. But I think that was just a guys, like, we've had it. I mean, there was only a few minutes left in the game, and they were like, we know this is going to get out of hand. Just go in the penalty box. I know it's not your prototypical roughing penalty, but it is. They put him in there.
The thing I love the most about the physicality was not the physicality itself, is how the Avalanche handled it on both ends. Mm-hmm. The power play looked incredible. Just amazing how they would set up. It looked like the power play should. And the penalty kill, there was one power play that I think it was the fresh power play going into the third period, 2 minutes, a fresh legs power play, and Nashville couldn't even get set up. 0 shots on the power play.
Yep.
Like, that's what you want to see. The Avalanche had every reason to take their foot off the gas there. If something happened, shrug your shoulders, whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, they couldn't even get a shot off. And the penalty kill and the power play on both sides of the physicality looked impeccable for the Avs. Even though it was 2 for 5, it still looked good. You're setting up your passing.
And you scored on a 5-on-3. Mm-hmm. And the last 5-on-3 that the Avs had looked atrocious. Mm-hmm. I think it was against Edmonton. And they were just passing the puck around the perimeter on a 5-on-3 for like a minute and 20 seconds. But it looked a lot better, and they scored on that 5-on-3. So yeah, 2 for 5 on the power play for the Avs. 58% on the faceoff. They win that, which is good.
It was up to 66 at one point in the game.
Yeah. I mean, shots on goal, you had 45. I don't know. I mean, I'll look it up right now, but it was about almost done with the second period. And I posted it on Twitter, the Corsi 4 percentage between the Avs shoot, like basically the percentage means how many shots are in total on both sides. The Avs were at 73%, meaning 73% of the total shots taken were from the Avalanche. That's nuts. That's complete domination. And I don't think many people, after you're up 5-0, I'm sure there were some Avs fans who were still kind of nervous because it's like, oh, we did all that in one period. We've given them 40 minutes to kind of come back. I'm telling you guys, like this is the playoffs, and this is a team that has suffered in the playoffs. They're not going to back down, and they didn't even up 5-0. They got the first goal in the second period too. That one that went to McKinnon or went to Landeskog, but they are going to be full pressure for a full 60 minutes because they know what can happen if they stop.
Yeah. And it's the Avalanche, like setting the tone the way they did. Like everybody was talking about, wow, Toronto looked great against Tampa. Like Carolina looked great. You're not going to hear any more of that. The attention is back on Colorado because you cannot. I think this was as flawless of a game that Colorado has played all year.
It really was. I mean, your first 3 goals, power play, even strength, shorthanded. I mean, that's some sort of hat trick when you do it. I don't know, but that's amazing. And your stars stepped up. You know what I mean? You had Nathan MacKinnon, the 2 goals and assists, 3 points. Cale Makar, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. Mikko Rantanen, 3 assists. Where's your shots on goal? MacKinnon with 6 shots on goal. Toews with 4 shots on goal. He just, I mean, where is the holes here?
None.
In this team,
0.
There's not, and there's now that you are healthy, you can see it. Is going to be tough. So, the question that Kyle posed, and we will get to that here in a second. Who's in goal for our Avalanche for game 2? For me, I thought it was a no-brainer. Kyle is maybe playing the role of Jared Bednar. I don't know. We'll talk about it. And we have a sound check to get to. But first, Built Bar. You know it. You love it. There it is on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. And summer is right around the corner. And with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on your family vacations. Throw them in your bags. Preferably throw them in a cooler because they are covered in 100% real chocolate. You don't want that melting out on the beach. In the kids' backpacks, make sure everyone has a bar so you're fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bar is they are healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. And with Built Bar, you can have both. And it's easy. All you have to do is go to built.com and order right now. And they do have those Built Bar granola bars up there, which I have yet to try, but I got to order some of those.
I see they are selling like crazy.
Are they? Yeah, they might be out soon. So I got to get on that. And most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to your typical candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to built.com to get all of your favorites and use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order. Once again, the promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, our sound check for game number 1. Songs that summarize the 7-2 victory of the Colorado Avalanche over the Nashville Predators. And if you have not listened to this before, all the songs that we talk about in these sound checks are on a playlist over on Spotify. Just search LOPN sound check. So what do you got for today, good sir?
A song from the CFOs. If you know the name, you know where I'm going. If you don't, get ready. The song is called Glorious Domination.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not to wrestling and WWE, but it seems like I would assume anybody that knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is. It's a majestic theme, And when you look back at this game, you listen to the lyrics and feel the vibe of the song. It's perfect.
Yeah, I played it before we went. It's just this uplifting, like epic, like chant, like music.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a perfect title for
it's incredible.
I like it. So that will be on there. And then for me, kind of in that kind of same realm in terms of song title, growing up, I grew up in the grunge era of the 90s, and so many good bands came out of that era. And one of them that a lot of people thought was just like big music, like a manufactured band to cash in on the grunge sound, but they turned out to be a really good band, and that's Silverchair. And they were like 15, 16-year-old kids when they were signed, and they came out with this album called Frog Stomp. If you haven't heard it, you probably heard the song Tomorrow, which is still on the radio today every once in a while. A great album from top to bottom. And then they went on to make some really fantastic albums where they incorporate like orchestras and things. Like, they were really talented.
I liked them.
Frog Stomp was them at their angriest. And when we're 15 years old, we're angry at everything, right? Yeah, there's so much to say when we're 15 years old. But they have a song on there called Pure Massacre. That's exactly what happened with the Avs. So that one is going up on the sound check as well. So 2 songs where you pretty much summarize this as a beatdown. There's nothing else you can say about it. It was just a flat beatdown. So
it was, can't beat it.
No. So go follow that playlist when you have time over on Spotify. Game 2, that's Thursday night, same bat time, same bat channel. No, I don't think you're going to see a letdown whatsoever from this team. Cogliano, like we said, day to day. I just feel like he's not going to play if he's not anywhere near 100%. Sturm got hurt as well, but he did come back. His looked bad.
Yeah, I thought he got cut.
Well, when they showed the replay, he got checked right in the arm. And I'm like, dude, like that might have broken his arm.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the ground, but he came back. So you always have to watch those too, like the day after.
Yeah.
Did tighten up overnight. Do you feel worse the day after? So those are 2 guys you're going to have to watch. But again, if both of those guys are gone, who are the 2 guys that were healthy scratches? Or we assume were healthy scratches was O'Connor and Newhook. They will come in. From the goalie standpoint, I guess we'll talk about both goalies. Let's start with the Predators quick. Who do they put in?
Doesn't matter.
I mean, you have to kind of think that like the Avs are going to come out just as hot.
I will say Ingram looked better.
He did
for the saves. He over Riddick. He got in, settled things down, and started making saves. The Avs eventually did get 2 by him, but like I thought when he got in, there was a shift in the vibe and
it wasn't like he came in and wasn't taking shots. He had 32 shots thrown at him and he saved 30 of them. So I would think that's where they go.
Yeah.
Is continue that. See what you can get out of him. For the Avs, I wasn't even thinking. I'm like, this is Darcy Kemper's show, and I think I think that's where they're going to go. I don't think they're going to do this every other game thing or anything like that. You have 2 games without UC Saros. You should be playing 2 games with Darcy Kemper because he's your best option to win, and you make sure you get those 2 games. You don't think so?
I don't. The way that we made it not hurt that we didn't get the President's trophies, we just kept saying, as long as we're healthy, Like if you watch the most recent episode of Avs 360, Kyle's talking to Berkey and Helm, and they're talking about like, we just want to be healthy. Well, why does that stop now? Especially with like Sturm and Cogliano, like why risk putting DK out there for honestly a game? Like you just
I mean, if you get into this back and forth thing, neither one of them can get into a flow. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can keep going back. I mean, because so what if the Avs lose a game? Do you put Kemper back out there to try to get the win and get his confidence back up, or do you
Put him
switch
back in game 3?
And then what do you do for game 4?
Frankie.
No, I can't do that in the playoffs. In the playoffs, I would do like a 3-for-1 type of deal. Like I
would go that route in round 2. You got to play this backwards.
Okay.
Like you're trying to save Darcy Kemper for the end.
Sure.
We have seen so many times where our goalies go down on the way. And if we lose Darcy and we're going to have to, Hunter Miska is the third. Like
right.
If we have Pavel Francouz and Hunter Miska, you don't feel confident whoever you play in the second round. Like, why burn him out against? Honestly,
he's not going to get burned out after 2 games, though.
Well,
at this point in the season, like he is as fit as he's going to be for the year, and he didn't. What he faced 25 shots. Okay, like a decent amount, but he wasn't flopping all over the place. Like he had a pretty easy go of it.
It doesn't take much with Darcy Kemper, though. Like that was our thing that we talked about as a concern when he came in, that he has injury problems.
100% true. For me, that's regular season. You got him to the playoffs. You know what I mean? You got him to the playoffs very healthy. And now you ride your horse a little bit more in the playoffs because it's the playoffs. I can't do this back and forth thing with the goaltenders. Not to say like I have all the confidence in the world in Francouz, but I think some of these guys need to build up, good routines in the playoffs. And when you do that, when you're constantly like playing every other game, and I get what you're saying, at least for like the first round, but for me, no, especially because for me, it wouldn't have mattered if Saros was there. You're playing Kemper because you need that matchup. You need Saros versus Kemper. Because Saros is not there, I'm putting Kemper in because you want that 2-0 lead, and then we can have this discussion when you go to Nashville on where does Francouz play game 3 or game 4.
I honestly I would stay with Frankie in 2 and Darcy Kemper 3 and 4.
So you want Kemper just on the road, basically, is what you're saying.
Like, why not? And save, like Frankie is statistically good against Nashville. And if we follow what we were saying, it's Ingram versus Francouz. That's not a tall task, especially if you're scoring 7 goals. We could put McDermott back there in between the pipes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be completely against it because you do have that 1-0 lead, and then you don't know what's going to happen after game 2 in Saros.
You can pull him.
Who?
You can pull Francouz and put Darcy in there and say, just stand up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like usually in the playoffs, I'm saying like you ride that number 1 guy a little bit longer than you would in the regular season. Like
I'm only saying that because Darcy, if you ride him too much, if he breaks, that's a serious problem for the Avalanche.
Yeah, I don't think the Avs are going to ride him so much where like Frankie's never going to see the ice. I think they know they have a good tandem and it's worked in the regular season. They are comfortable putting him in there. I think you will see Pavel Francouz at some point, but the routine they had with the 2 of them in the regular season, I don't think they keep that same routine in the playoffs. It's a different animal in the playoffs, and the goal for the regular season, like I said before, was get Kemper through the regular season, and the Avs and Pavel Francouz did a very good job of doing that. I think Francouz was injured a couple in the very beginning of the season, wasn't he? And then Kemper was great. It was great. So now that you've gotten him there, you don't want to ride him. I get that. You still want to give Francouz some time, but I don't know. It's the Saros thing is killing me because if he does come back after game 2, he's going to play. And if the Avs are up 2-0, he is playing the rest of that series. So, but then the Avs are up 2-0, and you have some wiggle room to mix and match, or, not mix and match, obviously, but mix up who you want to put in goal. But for now, I just have the mindset of it's the playoffs. You ride your horses a little bit longer.
My thing is, I think we keep Darcy Kemper healthy through the regular season. It's now get him to the cup. Nashville is will ride Saros because they need to. We don't have to ride Darcy Kemper.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, and then we advance. It's going to get harder to justify putting Francouz in more than he should, or playing with the rotation gets a lot harder in the second round.
The longer
the conference final, the conference final, you want to ride Darcy as like maybe all 4, 5, 6 games, whatever it takes. You're going to ride it. Like it gets harder. So
yeah,
if you got a chance to buy it now. Get Frankie in.
That's true. I mean, I think once you get to the conference finals, then it's Kemper. It's the Darcy Kemper show.
Just giving him a day off.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement that, Francouz is going to see time in this series.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
when
we're right. We're different on different ends of when he's going to come in. You're right. So, I don't know. We don't have to wait too long to see, but I can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anything else? I don't know. Like, we could probably go forever with this game just because it's awesome when you win.
You got Cinco de Mayo is another late start, but keep an eye on Saturday. It's an afternoon game, so don't miss that one.
Is it?
It's a 4:30 Eastern time for us.
Let me see. So yeah, you're right. It isn't. Yeah, I thought when I looked at it, I thought they were all the same time, but cool. And how much, isn't it just typical, like, Avs get the shaft because this Ranger Pittsburgh game goes to like 37 overtimes and the entirety of the Avalanche game is played on ESPNU, which is a channel that not a lot of people get because that's extra. So they are. They're supposed to be on ESPN, the regular ESPN 1, whatever you want to call it. And because the Rangers in Pittsburgh score a good amount of goals in the first 2 periods, then all of a sudden can't score one in a third, and then 2 or 3 overtimes. It's a little bit crazy.
How bad is it that a guy from Birmingham, Alabama took 10 to 15 minutes to find ESPNU?
That is a very good question. I wouldn't have said that out loud.
They're coming for me.
Wow. So, all right, everybody. You have to be happy. You have to be happy. This is exactly what you wanted. You wanted a 1-0 lead, obviously. To do it in this fashion just puts everything over the top right now. So you're feeling good for Wednesday, and then Thursday you get to do it all over again. So we will be back tomorrow with anything going on in Avalanche land, any updates on those injuries or anything else that comes out. So we'll be back tomorrow to talk about that. Until then, thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Go check out Locked On NHL. Definitely get caught up on games going on around in the playoffs. You had the Capitals. Didn't you have the Preds, or excuse me, the Panthers with a sweep?
Didn't you? Lisa reminded me of that. She's a Capitals fan in our Twitter space. She's like, I got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
And I ate crow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but how about those Kings though?
That's true. Yep. You're on both sides of the spectrum there. So, and then you had the Flames in a 1-0 game over Dallas. So they have a 1-0 series lead. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with a fresh new episode. Anything going on in Avalanche land, we will talk about it here. So once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, and I am Chris Maselli. This is the Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.